Hello, good morning, everyone. So before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that I'm currently seated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I know that many of you are on the land of other nations, so if you'd like, please feel free to write those nation names in the chat. And always, let us remember our connection to our siblings in these nations and pray for the day in which we might be together with them in right relationship. Welcome. Welcome to Living Interfaith. Know that the whole of you is welcome here. You're not asked to leave who you are in your own home. Please bring who you are in with you to this community today. But what you are asked to remember is that the others here today have brought who they are into this community with them as well. And all of goodwill are welcome. And now, while our musicians, Bruce and Cheryl, are not able to be present today, we have some recordings to share. So I'm going to invite you to join them in our opening song.
Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, whoever you are, though you've broken your vows a thousand times over, broken your cares a thousand times. Come, yet again come. Come, whoever you are, you've broken your vows a thousand times over, ours is no cares and ours despair. Come, yet again come.
So I have a few announcements for you today. So today after the service, there's going to be a May Day Social Justice Information Fair at Grandview Park and Commercial in Vancouver from 2 to 4 p.m. Everyone's invited to come down and get information on different social justice initiatives happening in Vancouver. And there will be music, free food, and cake. So if you're in Vancouver and local and you have time, definitely go check that out. On Wednesday, May 8th at 6 p.m., the Multi-Faith Action Society, of which I'm a board member, will be holding its annual general meeting with guest speaker Harold Rosen. Some of you may know him. He's a community interfaith educator who previously taught our Afterlife Study series. And dinner will be served as well. This will take place in the main hall of the Unitarian Church of Vancouver on West 49th Avenue in Vancouver, and you can RSVP to admin@multifaithaction.org. And then finally, on Tuesday, May 14th at 7 p.m., the Surrey Interfaith Council is hosting a discussion called A Rocha, a story of ecological conservation at the Colibri Center in Surrey. You can register by emailing surreyinterfaith@gmail.com. And I invite you to pause this recording and welcome announcements from any others who may have some to share. So I'm going to lead us now in our opening prayer. And this is a Beltane prayer to the Earth Mother. Great Earth Mother, we give you praise today and ask for your blessings upon us. As seeds spring forth and grass grows green and winds blow gently and the rivers flow, and the sun shines down upon our land, we offer thanks to you for your blessings and your gifts of life each spring. Amen. And for a candle lighting prayer, I'm going to read a prayer to protect the herds and flocks, which focuses on the fire symbolism of Beltane. So I'll light our candle first. We light the fires of Beltane sending smoke up to the sky. The flames purify and protect, marking the turn of the wheel of the air. Keep our animals safe and strong. Keep our land safe and strong. Keep those who would protect them safe and strong. May the light and heat of this fire bestow life upon the herd. Peace, everyone. It's so lovely to have you here this morning. I'm going to invite you to pause this recording and greet one another with a sign of peace. Now we'll have another song. This is the Blessings of Beltane song by Cernunos Rising.
Sunlight dancing upon the street, where were pearls of June, blessings of color from flower and thorn, above me only blue, and the first bird songs from the meadowlands, an inspirational sound, carried along by the morning breeze, waking all around. Bringer of summer and dancer of green, keeper of cauldron, divider of dreams, maiden of flowers, lifter of veils, friend of my heart, teller of tales. Winter will teach the beauty of change. I smile and summer is here. She is back again with a fragrant embrace, born of the wheel of the year. So light up the fires of Beltane, the promise of Maytown once more, and we witness the dance of the maiden, just as the year before. Bringer of summer and dancer of green, keeper of cauldron, divider of dreams, maiden of flowers, lifter of veils, friend of my heart, teller of tales. Light up the fires of Beltane, promise of Maytown once more, and we witness the dance of the maiden, just as the year before.
Hey, welcome back. I love seeing all those animals and plants. It just brings me joy. Now I'm going to invite you to join us in reading our joint affirmation. We come together in peace. We sing together in joy and with love. We worship together in one house, a house with names beyond number. Our paths are many, our beliefs are as leaves, and the tree that we cleave to is nourished by the light of compassion, justice, and mutual respect. May our lives, our beliefs, and our actions help to bring about the world of love we all seek, and let it begin here. Thank you. Now is when we take some time to pray in our own homes and our own ways. Spring is a time of growth and new beginnings. For several people in our community at the moment, it's a time of travel. Reverend Kathy Merchant is in Spain, hiking the Camino de Santiago, And I'll be in Morocco when you're watching this, taking a break from my studies before I start my residency. For others, it's a time of celebration. Our council president, Dorley, is currently celebrating her graduation. And it's a time to tend to the land, as our treasurer, Justin Thurn, is currently doing. He's in the midst of hatching a bunch of tiny chickens. And so I'd like to pray for safety and for meaningful encounters when traveling, for celebrating accomplishments and new beginnings, and for the many opportunities that are given us, both in large ways and small, to tend to each other and our beloved earth. So please feel free to pray in silence for whatever's on your hearts this morning. Welcome back. Now we're going to join together to sing another song. This one is called Beltane Night by Jaya.
Moonrise and starfall and fire burn, and night wind call, drum beat, the wild song that heart sings at summer's dawn. Sown are the new fields with bright seed of harvest yield. Far down the roots find the heart's joy to summer's time. Leave the fire and come with me. We'll lie beneath the flowering tree and feel the breathing of the earth rise and fall. The green tide sings its song again to wake the hill, to wake the glen, and raise in every living thing an answering call. So leap o'er the May fire and hold close your sweet desire, for life's wheel will grant soon the heart's wish for summer's bloom. Green shoot and pale flower garland, the Beltane bough circle with joined hands, for heart shines with summer's dance. Leave the fire and come with me. We'll walk beside the dreaming sea, following the fading stars as the new day dawns. We'll try to catch time in our hands, to hold the wave against the sand, and watch this glow upon the land that soon will be gone. So drum beat and flute sound, and once more we'll circle round, for the world turns, the wheel spins, and all ends at once begins. This green hour the heart knows is brief as the budding rose. The wheel turn and bloom fade, the heart sings the birth of May.
Now I'm going to invite you to pause the recording to share the joys and sorrows in your lives. As many of you already know, the Living Interfaith Sanctuary is in the midst of its annual stewardship campaign. We're so grateful to everyone who's donated, and we're nearly 2/3 of the way to our goal of raising $23,000, which will fund our budget for the coming year. We're getting so close, and we'd really like to welcome your donations to help make this final stretch before the campaign closes next Saturday on May 11th. So this money helps pay for our speakers and our staff, for myself, of course, and for our wonderful musicians who unfortunately couldn't join us today. But even just $25 will cover our Zoom account for 1 month. No amount's too small. And thank you so much to those of you who have already contributed. And if not, I invite you to visit the donation page for our campaign, and I will ask someone to put that in the chat for you. Now we're going to come together to sing another song.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Okay, so now it's my joy to introduce today's speaker, ED Johnston. Ed has been a practicing pagan since the late 1990s and has experience in multiple pagan paths, including Wicca. She's a founding member of the Silver Spiral Collective and has sat on the board of directors for the Gathering for Life on Earth event. She was also the organizer of Vancouver Pagan Pride. Her faith and connection to the divine has always been rooted in her contribution to community. And as such, she has had the opportunity to gather and celebrate the pagan holidays with practitioners from many different paths. I had the honor of meeting Ed at a recent event with the Multi-Faith Action Society, and she has kindly agreed to pre-record a maple ceremony and talk for our community today. With no more ado, I am going to turn it over to Ed for her talk.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank the Multi-Faith Action Society for inviting me to speak to you guys today about Beltane through the lens of a Wiccan practitioner. For those who don't know me, my name is Ed, and I have been a pagan for the majority of my life. I consider myself an eclectic pagan because through the years, I've had the opportunity to practice through all different pagan paths, both public and private groups. And through all of that, I have been able to be trained in the Wiccan path. And so today I will be talking about maypoles, and I'm going to talk about maypoles, how they connect to Beltane through a pagan lens. So while I am trying to talk a little bit about maypoles and paganism, I'm going to multitask, and we're actually going to make a maypole together. Well, I'm going to make a maypole, and you get to see the shenanigans as they happen. So obviously, I'm not going to make a maypole the size that you would see at a festival. So we're actually going to make maples that a Wiccan would put on their altar. So this is a example of a completed maypole that was done in a Beltane ritual. And as you can see, they're not as perfectly done as a maypole you may see in the movies or the media. And that's because it's actually quite difficult to coordinate the crafting of a maypole. When you see the maypole dance done with the huge poles and each person's holding a ribbon and they're lifting their arms up and down, to make a beautiful design, those people have practiced, and they've practiced a lot. When you do maples with amateurs, this is how it looks. So this is a completed maple that would be put on somebody's altar at Beltane. And then this is an incomplete maple that I've started for today's talk. And you can see there's just a few wraps of the ribbon, and we'll talk a little bit about what do you need. So this maple would be considered a magical object in Wicca. And that's because this maple is being created for a specific purpose. And it is created with intent. And in Wicca, intent is very important. It's basically the basis behind everything you do. What is your intent in making this? And so this object that I am making has intent woven in it, and we'll talk about that later. But I just wanted you to see what components do I use to make up a ritual maypole. So I've got my little pot here that I have painted with some flowers and vines. In the center, reduce, reuse, recycle, we have a chopstick. You can, with the larger ones, you can get dowels that have their own bases at craft stores. You could just get dowels at like Home Depot or something. But when you're making the mini ones, we just use all those leftover chopsticks from our sushi takeout. And then you want some ribbon, which is kind of the main component to your maypole. And that's what you're going to use to wrap the magic into your object. Everything else can be decorative. I've got these little flowers here that are tucked in, and that's just to cover up the tissue paper that I've used to hold my maple up. Normally you would want something a little more sturdy than tissue paper because my maple is a bit wobbly, but tissue paper is what I had, so tissue paper is what I've used. And then in here, you can see that there's something sparkling, and that's where my magic is. And we'll talk about the magic aspect of the maypole a little bit later when we're talking specifically about Wiccan maples. And that is the base of what you need to make your own little maypole that you can keep inside your house, and you can do all by yourself. You don't need a crowd of people. So, what do we know about maypoles? Maypoles are one of the few things that has maintained its base purpose and symbolism throughout a long term of history. A lot of what we see in modern Wicca, we we don't really know the ancient roots, and we're just making our assumptions and putting our intent into those things, but we don't really know for sure exactly what the history of those symbols are, because over time they've been converted through multiple religions and past and laws and whatnot to get to our modern symbolism, and so it's a little bit different. But for some reason the maypole has stayed pretty significant to its original reason. I think it's a pretty obvious symbolism. It doesn't take long to see, but I think it would be hard to change the symbolism of this object too much. So, what do we know about maypoles kind of historically? So, one of the things that we know is that when they talk about maypoles in history, they often talk about children dancing the maypole, and you see these huge, massive, towering maypoles. Not a little chopstick one, but you see these huge, towering maypoles with all these ribbons around them. And around them, you will see little girls and little boys facing opposite directions. And so the boys always go in one direction, the girls go in a different direction, and they lift their arms up and they duck underneath and they literally dance around the maypole. And how they lift their arms and dip their arms, that's how you get your design. So for our little maypoles, right now, I'm just going to tie my ribbon to the pole. And this is the least pretty way you can do this, but it is the easiest way you can do this. So if you're making a maypole that you want to last for a long time, you want it to be decorative and symbolic, and it's going to stay up in your house, then you're going to probably want to take a little bit more time to make sure that your ribbons are attached to your maypole in a little bit prettier of a way. As you can see from this sample, they've actually used like a tack, and they've tacked it into the top of the dowel. And then that way, you don't see all the messiness of the ribbons. But I just tied mine on here with a little bow. I want this to be kind of semi-permanent. I don't want it to fall apart today because I want the magic to grow and keep going. So I'm just going to put a little bit of our good friend white glue up into my here. So there you go. Now we've got our ribbon on our pole, and we can imagine all of our children running around the maypole. And this part is extremely difficult to do alone. So often, if you're in ritual with your group, you will help one another weave your magic. And so we would have 4 different people holding the 4 different threads or ribbons, and they would dance the maypole. You go in one direction, and then the other direction, and then one direction and the other direction. You just keep going back and forth, hopefully with better coordinated hands than I have. I am disabled, so sometimes my hands do not work as well as I would like them to. So it's not going to be the prettiest of wrap, but there's your point, that they would dance the maypole, and now our maypole is started. Historically, what we know about dancing the maypole is they would start at a fairly early age, and the children would learn to dance the maypole. They would dance it every Beltane, and the intent at that time was always about fertility and literal fertility of the children, so that when they are adults and they are married, that they are able to procreate easily. And so throughout their life, every year, they would dance the maypole, with each year putting in the intent of being fertile as an adult so that they can pass on their line. And so it was always danced with joy and excitement. And it was particularly important in your last Beltane before you're married. And so as a maiden, this would be your last time dancing the maypole, and you'd really want to like ensure the fertility of your body. Through time, though, the fertility of a person's body and the maypole has become less significant. And now we talk a lot about using the maypole as fertility for other things as well. May it be your crops or your career or whatever you want to put energy into, you can dance the maypole for those things. And although it is, okay now, well, not that it was ever not okay, but although it is, you see people who have had children dance the maypole, or people who have no intention to have children will dance the maypole. It is still, you are more likely to see younger people dance the maypole than you are to see adults. It is very much seen as a part of a person's maidenhood or youth. That being said, in Wicca, it can be used as a literal fertility ritual. And I had the honor of participating in one of those rituals. And what was done was the maypole was erected inside someone's house because it was raining outside. It does rain a lot, around Beltane in this area, because we need the water to make our crops grow. But we didn't want to dance in the rain. So they made a maypole that went from floor to ceiling within the room that we were in. And the participants who were there with the intention of becoming parents, when it became time to dance the maypole, all of those participants were put with their back to the maypole. And as everyone else danced the maypole, they danced around the people who were hoping to get pregnant or get someone else pregnant, who were hoping to become parents. So all the potential parents were tied literally to the maypole as their friends and family and fellow Wiccans danced around them and sang. And it was very, very powerful. And at the end of the dance of the maypole, that's not the end of the ritual, it's just the end of the dance of the maypole. And so the prospective parents stayed tied to that pole through the rest of the ritual. And at the end of the ritual, they had to help each other get untied. And they untied themselves from the pole. And those ribbons that had been danced around them were tied and cut. And each participant took some ribbons home with them. And that would go on their own personal fertility altar as they continued their magical workings towards becoming parents. And that was an amazing thing to be able to be part of. Not everybody who was tied to the pole was successful, but there are some children running around today whose parents were tied to that pole, and that was a really cool experience. So that's not what we're wishing for today, though. Today in our altar and with our maypole, what I am hoping to put energy towards is making connections. After being isolated from COVID and then my own health issues, it's been a while since I've had a lot of good connections with people. And so I want to put more energy into connecting with other people through things like doing this video, even though I wasn't able to do it live, unfortunately. I still feel like a connection can be made this way. So what I have here, see if I can hold it up so you can see, is there we go. It's a magnetic clasp for jewelry. And so it's quite a literal idea of connecting. So I'm going to connect my object right onto my ribbons, and then I'm going to braid those ribbons in. Now, if I were in ritual right now and not chit-chatting with you all, which is, I guess, a ritual in and of itself, but if I were in ritual by myself, I would likely be chanting now as I wrap my ribbons around my object. And once my object has been wrapped a few times, and my chants have been sung, and my intent has been given into the bowl, this is where I would tie it off. And then afterwards, I can make it look a little prettier with some flowers and whatnot. I would definitely glue some stuff up here, I think, to cover up that bow. And you want to make it a little prettier. Here, let me get some extra glue for that flower there. Now, different paths have different ideas of what you would do with this particular magical object that I've made specifically for this intent. Some Wiccans will say a certain number of days, maybe 3 or 9 or 12. Numbers divisible by 3 are pretty important for most Wiccan paths. Some will say that they hold it there until the end of the spell, until the intent has been created. So if they're doing something specific, like get a new job or something like that, that item will stay on their altar until they have that success. Now, I've asked for something a little more obscure. I'm looking for connections. Well, how do we decide there's been enough connections? There's no way. So what I usually do, my personal path, is I will put up my Beltane altar, and this object will be included in my Beltane altar, and it will stay there until the next holiday. So there's 8 holidays in the year, and I change my altar at each holiday. And so it gives the whole term for that magic to happen, and for the intent to go in. And every time I walk past the altar, I can just give it a little nod, give myself a smile, put a little intent in, and that helps the magic grow over time. And that is kind of the common use of something like a maypole in the Wiccan path. I am going to not complete these objects during this talk, just because I feel like I didn't have the opportunity to put enough focus into them. So I'm actually going to do a private Beltane ritual where I will make these a little more focused, and before I put them on my altar, but that's where they will stay. I hope you learned something new today. I hope you have the opportunity to try out and make your own Beltane symbol. And just remember that it's the time of fertility in our magic timeline. So whatever you put energy into right now is what's going to grow. So you want to make sure you're putting your energy into positive things, and make sure those positive things grow. Thank you very much for having me today. I hope you all have a magnificent spring and that good things grow for you.
Hey, well, welcome back from that wonderful talk. So grateful to Ed for putting that together for us. And I personally am going to do my best. I don't know if I'll have time before my trip, but I would love to make a maypole. So I'll see what I can do. So now we're going to join together in one more song, and then I'll end the service with a closing prayer. After that, we usually have a question and answer session, but since this service is not live, Ed won't be able to join us for that. So if you want to stay afterward and connect and chat, please do. But for now, our closing song, it will be a Wiccan chant called The Earth, the Air, the Fire, the Water. And it's sung by the Musica Viva Vocal Ensemble. I'm going to pull that up for us now. Well, welcome back. The first time I met Ed, she had us do that chant together, and we didn't do it nearly so beautifully. At least I didn't, but it's just always so lovely to hear it. So now please join me for our final prayer. During this Beltane season, let us remember to celebrate joyfully and to dance. Let us put deep intentions into our rituals and ways of being. Let us appreciate the many blessings of summer's arrival, the warmth, the sunlight, the connection. May we find magic and blessings all around us in the work that we do, in the love that we share, and in the lives that we grow, both for ourselves and for others. Amen.